hope this works. Duke, it's okay. This is my first ever attempt at a YouTube video. I have an iPhone 8 and I have a Mac desktop computer that I bought in 2010, so we'll see how this goes. I bought a ring light and it doesn't even work. It came with missing parts, so my old phone is propped up on a pillow. But it's pretty true to the way things go around here, so I'm sure you'll see that if you stick around. I wrote myself some notes. So who am I? Welcome. My name is Lauren, and I am part owner and operator of Browning's Farm and Flower Truck. My better half, Drew, is actually out mowing pastures right now, but he's also very camera shy, so you probably won't see him very much. But welcome. I've had this desire to do something like this, to expand upon what I post on Instagram at Browning's Flower Truck for a while, and I've kind of got that urge and that push, and my friend challenged me to post one video before the end of August. So done beats perfect, as she likes to say. So here it is, Nicole. So who are we? A little bit about me. Lauren Spencer, born and raised in Northern California, in the Sacramento area, in the suburbs. I moved to Washington State, and then I decided to join the Coast Guard. I lived in Oregon. I did a short stint in Petaluma outside San Francisco, and then moved to Puerto Rico, where I met Drew, who is a pilot, and he flies out of New York. He's based at JFK, and we met and lived on the island for a year and a half together. I got out of the Coast Guard. We stayed on the island a little longer, and I decided to pursue a degree in agriculture. Now, if you follow along with us, you'll know that I have no experience whatsoever with ag. I grew up in the suburbs of Sacramento. I lived in a condo with a concrete patio. We didn't even have a live plant. I've never planted a garden. And I decided to move to the state of Kentucky, which I'd never been, to attend a college specifically for ag. So we moved from the island, from Puerto Rico to here. We lived in a fifth wheel camper for 3 years on a little piece of land we bought, and we decided to call Kentucky home for a little bit longer than we had anticipated. So we bought a farm. We bought a log cabin on 40 acres, and then during COVID, we were able to actually purchase the adjacent property. We split it with one of the neighbors to round out our farm at just over 100 acres, and it's about 50-50 pasture and woods. So that's a little bit about us. Drew, he is originally from Texas. He's also lived in Oklahoma, Florida, and Puerto Rico, and then now we reside here in Kentucky together. So it's a little bit about who we are, where we're from. We met on the island and have been inseparable ever since. He actually just proposed. We've been together for 7 years. We just celebrated our anniversary. He just proposed, so we are getting married next year, October of 2022. I'm very excited. So what is Browning's? So Browning's was actually my capstone project when I was studying sustainable agriculture at University of Kentucky. And I created this business and this website and got my license, and I did all these things as my capstone because I felt like during our curriculum, our coursework, we learned so much, except for the piece that was missing was sort of that grassroots level of, okay, but how do I do this? How do I start a business? How do I design a logo? How do I create a website? What taxes do I pay? What license do I get? So I created that while I was still in school, and then when I graduated, kind of decided to run with it. So Brownings is named after Drew's grandfather, who is the patriarch of his family. He served in World War II. He's just one of those men. Actually, his old pilot logs are right here. He's just a fantastic man who was very, very special. Drew's family is very, very special, and so we wanted to honor him. Drew's middle name is Browning, and so that's how the farm came to be. We have a vintage flower truck. It's the focal point of our business. We didn't design it that way. Things just sort of came across our lap, and we just sort of go all in. We decide to run with it. And so I found this vintage, actually trailer. I found the trailer first in southern Kentucky. It's this old 1955 International truck bed with farm plank shelving and a tin roof, and it is the cutest little thing. And then we ended up finding a matching truck with a matching patina in Chicago. We did not design it this way. It was just serendipity, and lo and behold, Browning's flower truck was born. So why flowers? I actually went to University of Kentucky to study organic vegetable production. And the reason being is because I have actually suffered from terrible stomach pains and what ultimately they like to describe as IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, for the better part of 17 years. It started when I was 15. It was excruciating. I missed a lot of school. It would come out of nowhere. I would collapse on the floor in the fetal position, crying. It's been an awful journey, and I have ate every which way, every diet, so to speak, and just really haven't found a cure. When I was 18, I was taking an environmental science class at the community college, or interdisciplinary studies, and that was the very first time that I was introduced to thinking about the food that was on my plate. I don't know why, I just never ever considered looking down at what I was consuming and thinking about where it came from, because that's modern America, right? It's a convenience. We aren't, if you don't live in rural areas, you aren't presented with these ideas of how your food is grown or where it's grown. So over the course of the next decade, coupled with my stomach issues, I consumed book after book after book on food systems, how our food is raised, how our food is produced, and I got kind of obsessed with this romantic idea of food and how we should be eating, or how I should be eating. And I determined, while on a Google search in my office in Puerto Rico, that I was going to be a farmer. Well, I worked on the CSA, the horticulture research farm, and I quickly realized that in order to be a vegetable farmer, you need arable land, tillable land, labor, capital. We have none of that. we do not have extra labor. We cannot afford extra labor. We don't have a large plot of land. Well, we do. We have a lot of land, but our land is extremely sloped. It's some of the worst soil in the county, and it's pure clay and rock. It's very humid in Kentucky. You battle a lot of pest pressure, a lot of disease pressure, and we have zero flat space on the farm. I'm talking very, very steep slopes. I want to actually get the specific degrees. So we don't actually have a lot of space. And there was one lecture that I was sitting in on the floriculture industry, and I could tell my professor just wasn't a huge fan of talking about that, but it talked about how lucrative it could be because they're a value-added product, right? You take a crop and then you make a bouquet or make a bridal bouquet or whatever it may be, and then that becomes a higher value, a higher selling point. I also learned that you can cut and come again, so you can produce the same amount in a very, very small space, and you can cut on it week after week. And so I decided in that lecture that I was going to be a flower farmer. I was going to grow flowers. Again, this wasn't nostalgic for me. I had never bought myself flowers. I didn't have a grandma that I gardened with. I have none of that. I have no experience or probably no business doing this, but this is what I just decided on. And when I put my mind to it, I'm just gonna go all in. So Brownings was born. We now have a flower truck. Very quickly jumped into weddings. Actually just 2 months after we kind of debuted our flower truck. So we have only been in business as of July of this year, 2021. We've been in business for 2 years, and we have done so many weddings. We've freelanced. So we offer, what do we offer? We have a flower truck. We do weddings and events and designs. We do private events with the flower truck. We are really working very hard on our farm, our landscaping, cutting back a decade worth of overgrowth. So we've hosted a lot of photographers out on our farm. And my very favorite thing that we do is workshops. So we did a Christmas workshop my first year in business, and I taught almost 200 people how to make wreaths. And I had no idea I can't believe the numbers of people that I taught in those first few workshops, but that's my favorite. So that's a little bit about what we offer. So why am I sitting here? What is this channel about? What are we doing? I realize that there are so many experts on YouTube, and it's a great place to find out things that you need to know, right? I think University of YouTube is a great way to describe this endless resource of free knowledge. I am no expert. I started what's called Confessions of a First Year Flower Farmer, and all the highlights are on our Instagram. And I basically documented my, most of the time there's no makeup, it's sweat, there's dirt on my face, and I'm out making all kinds of mistakes trying to figure this out. And I posted on Instagram, and it's kind of funny. It's sort of a walking diary. I guess it's a vlog, essentially. And the following of that really grew, and I got a lot of messages. And so when we hit our first year, I'm like, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to call this? It's not First Year Flower Farmer. So we decided to shift into Confessions of a First Generation Farmer. And through all of my Instagram posts, I've used it as an outlet, as my sort of diary. I don't know why when I look into the screen, it's like I don't realize people watch or follow. It's sort of this facade of I'm only talking to myself, I'm only writing to myself, but people see it and people love it. And I've been told I need to write a book, and a blog, a podcast, whatever. It resonates with people. And I think it's because we are real, and it's because we are relatable, in the sense that I'm constantly pointing out, don't do this. This was a big mistake, and this cost us a lot of money. This worked well. We're extremely transparent, and I think people appreciate the honesty, especially in an age of so many filters. So this channel, I would like to sort of expand upon those confessionals. I want to upload them all and recap everything I've learned just since that time. But to just sort of document, I'm not an expert, so this is a channel for you to come and watch a beginner try and figure it out. I don't even have that much experience gardening, and I'm trying to run a business as a farmer, and I'm not very good at it. So I'm learning, though. I'm constantly learning, and I'm making improvements every time. And so this is just my way of documenting that, and hopefully, if you're interested, taking you along for that journey. What animals do we have? So again, I never rode horses when I was little. I was a very typical suburban girl who enjoyed going to the mall and shopping and going to restaurants, and I do none of those things now. So we have 4 dogs. We have 2 lab puppies actually, and then our German Shepherd Duke, and Fred is the Catahoula Great Pyrenees, and then Mabel and Greta are the girls. They're rambunctious, so they're outside. We have a flock of chickens. We did have geese at one point. We do plan on getting them again, and I'm hoping to get ducks. And we have 4 horses, Gerald, Phyllis, Claire, and Hank. So you'll notice there's a running theme on our farm where everybody has like these old nostalgic names, which I love. So they're fun. Oh, and we have 6 goats. So we have Calvin was our first, our bottle baby. We got in January, and I put diapers on him, and he stayed in the house with me. He would sleep in bed with me. I loved it. And then quickly we got 2 more to be friends with him that the neighbor wanted to get rid of. And then I got 3 more bottle babies. So Calvin, Leighton, Larry, Albert, Jack, and Oscar. So they just make me laugh. They're very goofy. So those are our animals. We have a lot of plans for expansion. I have a raised bed cutting garden. I've tried to do a U-pick plot. I think we're going to sort of redo it in a different way next year. But we are currently expanding the raised bed garden to really get serious with some growing space. Mostly flowers for the business, vegetables, and herbs for our own consumption. So big plans happening. We do have an NRCS grant for fencing, so we will be getting more paddocks and pastures and rotational grazing, and hoping to then eventually get a greenhouse and also some big tables to host on-farm workshops. That's the key for me, is really to get people out here to the farm. So there was a tragedy that recently happened. I was absolutely devastated. Our flower trailer, I had an accident, and it is totaled. It flipped. I was coming back from a venue called Castle and Key. Kentucky has very narrow roads, very small town, no cell service, there's no shoulders, and there was a dip. My back tire, it was a very top heavy trailer, my back tire caught it, and it was just sort of the perfect accident waiting to happen. So it kind of fishtailed, it smacked a telephone pole and fell over in the middle of the road. And I wasn't going more than 20 miles an hour. So luckily, there were some really wonderful people that helped rewrite it, clean the area, put it in their driveway. Drew came out with the tractor and the flatbed, loaded it up, but we had to cancel every one of our events. And it's since February or March, we have been booked every single weekend of the year. So it was extremely concerning. That's my source of revenue because I actually just left my full-time teaching job, and I was a mess. But I think ultimately, as most things are, it was a blessing in disguise, because the amount of constant events and turnover, and there's so much to do on this farm. I was driving myself crazy. And I remember back in February, I was teaching full time. Drew travels for a living, so he's gone 5 days a week. We have this big farm and all these animals to take care of, and I was trying to run a business. And I was very close to having a panic attack. I knew something had to give. The kids were coming back to school from virtual learning, and I realized very quickly that I could not maintain this. And my schedule, I was the director of the after school program, and the hours that I thought were going to be great ended up being terrible. I couldn't get any projects done. You know, Drew and I were just sort of fighting and we'll just at each other because we're both very stressed out. Drew comes home after working 5 days and being exhausted flying, and then he has so much to do here. So we decided as a family that unfortunately my salary was not enough as a teacher to make it, right? I need to be here. I need to be here on the farm. And so the flower truck was supposed to supplement that, along with weddings and workshops and other things. What I have realized is that this business very quickly has been taken in the direction that the people want. Whatever they ask for, whatever they suggest, I give. Bookings, I give. And I'm learning quickly that boundaries are extremely important. Boundaries in your own life, your personal life, your family life, and your work life. And I'm not saying that we're at such a successful point in our business where I can turn down work, but I do know how much work it takes just to maintain this farm every day, although it doesn't pay. And so I'm realizing that I need to say no to things, and I need to focus on what I find value in or what I think will benefit Brownings the most. So with the cancellation of a lot of our bookings, it has created this shift. Now, I got my degree in agricultural education with a minor and focus on sustainable agriculture and ag economics. My passion is food, and that usually means organic, free range, heritage breeds, and homesteading. I have my permaculture certification. I did all of that for a reason. The environmental impact of certain things, it makes a difference to me. I want to focus on quality over quantity. I want to learn how to do basic things like make homemade pasta and raise a hog that will feed our family for the whole year. And I don't know how to do any of that because I was raised in the suburbs. My mom didn't even cook. I lived off of top ramen and TV dinners. And so with us doing weddings and us needing so many flowers, we've bought a lot of wholesale flowers. My first year I would drive 6 hours to go to all these different farms to get different flowers, but it just wasn't feasible. And I want to pride myself on building a sustainable business. And it's not sustainable if it's not what I deem ethical. Now, there are a lot of brides that want flowers that simply are not grown here or not grown in mass. And I understand that. There's, I think, especially with my agriculture education degree, and I understand that farming, big or small, there is a place. There is a place for everything. And there is a reason why it might be good for some people. But I prefer intimacy, I prefer sustainability and small scale. And so I think it was quickly spiraling, and I really want to dial it back in. I am an introvert, and if I could stay on this farm every day and never leave, it would make my heart sing. And so I really need to focus on less bookings, more farming. I kind of suck at farming. I'm pretty bad at it. I'm pretty bad at gardening. And I need to learn. I didn't move to Kentucky to be a florist, and I'm quickly turning into one. I want to be a homesteader and develop a business from the farm. So anyway, that shift, it's why we bought this. It's why we're doing this. It's why really it's me. I don't know that Drew just kind of follows along and builds up my dreams. He's a wonderful man. But this is why we're doing this business. This is why we moved out here. I want to be a homesteader. that's what I want to pursue. And so I'm hoping I can document it along the way. So my certifications, I told you I was a teacher. I have my permaculture certification, and I am working on my herbalist certification. It's not recognized here in the US. It is a UK certification. However, Europe seems to be more on, well, I don't even know, it's not the cutting edge, it's more, they recognize that the root derivative of all pharmaceuticals is herbs, right? So before all of this, I actually worked in the medical field for 10 years. And I hated working under fluorescent lights and being in walls with no windows for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, and seeing people who were sick and were not changing their habits with the basic things like diet and exercise, good food. You know, we've become a culture of pill pushers. And I didn't like it. I felt like that was so against what we should be doing as humans. I have to be outside. My friends have always described me as either a leaf in the wind or a bird that couldn't be caged, and I think those analogies are very accurate. I am always going against the grain, and I like being independent, and I've learned that being an entrepreneur is probably my ideal situation, dictating how I do my day, and I can work 12, 16 hours a day. I'm not shying away ever from hard work, but it's work that I value, and that's where I put my most energy. So what are we currently growing? Well, we have layers, barred rock chickens that give us eggs, free range organic eggs every single day. And I have a cutting garden that was kind of a last ditch effort this year because I didn't leave my job until June, so I really missed those crucial windows. But I'm basically growing some perennials and annuals of flowers. This year I'm focusing a lot, instead of thinking the garden is a waste, I'm letting it go to seed and collecting the seed, which is something new for me. And I'm establishing a new raised bed garden. I am growing some dahlia tubers that I plan on propagating. And then I have a lot of vegetable seed and herb seed that I plan on growing. So with the herbalist certification, I really, really, really want to build up an apothecary. I want to utilize plants as medicine. I drink tea every day. I want to make my own teas, my own salves, my own tinctures and poultice. And we have dairy goats. We need to get females, but I could make goat's milk soap, goat's milk cheese, just living off the farm, living off the land. I truly think getting back to our roots is probably the healthiest thing we can do as a human population. We've come so far away from it. It can't be healthy to sit at your desk for 8 hours a day staring at a screen, right? So I am really looking forward to building up a medicine cabinet my way. I think I've talked about everything on my list. The confessionals, the transparency, who we are, what we do. So thank you for following along if you've made it this far in the video. And I promise most of the time I won't be sitting in here. I'll be taking you along with my daily chores and routines and showing you what we do as we continue to expand this farm and this business as a place for community and a place to simply share what it is to try and strive for simple and slow living. You know, I love to hunt for antiques. I'm building this home up full of random treasures from peddlers malls and thrift stores, and it's a colonial style. I want to bring you in the kitchen with me. I want to bring you in the garden with me. I want to bring you along for the chores. And I hope that you will enjoy that. I hope that you will enjoy following along on this journey as we figure it out together.